Now, the Speaker of the House of Commons, John Bercow, announced this week that he will stand down either when a general election is called or on the 31st of October, whichever comes first. Now, one of the leading candidates to replace him is Harriet Harman, the former Deputy Labour leader. She joins us now. Thank you very much for being with us.
Good morning.
So why do you think you're better than all of the other candidates to be the next Speaker?
Well, I think it's a very difficult and challenging time for our parliamentary democracy, and the divisions over Brexit, an additional casualty from those divisions has been public trust and confidence in our Parliament. And I believe that is very serious indeed, because if there's a vacuum there, then extremism can move in and fill that gap. So I think it's a task of all MPs to rebuild trust and confidence in our democracy, but it's going to be a central role for the Speaker, and I'm putting myself forward. And there will be a range of very good candidates, and so there should be, because it's an important role at a very challenging time for our Parliament.
I mean, what do you mean by extremism?
Well, I think that if people don't have confidence in their MPs and in Parliament as an institution, then it leads people to go outside that to try and make change. And the point about our system is that everybody has their vote. Every MP has an equal vote in the House of Commons, and that's the basis for our democracy and creates stability and progress and prosperity. And without that, there is a very dangerous situation of polarities of views and clashes that are not really brought forward to the House of Commons to be deliberated and decided on. I mean, it is one of the casualties of the divisions over Brexit, and we really need to address that, all MPs, but also centrally the Speaker.
I mean, I guess some people would say it's not extremism. People just feel completely disillusioned with Parliament, with MPs. They look at what's happening and they think, actually, this is a joke.
Yes, but if people lack confidence, and it's evident, all of us members of Parliament, we can hear what people are saying, that they do lack trust and confidence in Parliament, that is a problem. We can't just say, well, they're justified in that. Our parliamentary democracy is the foundation of how this country is run. So we have to recognise the scale of the problem and actually work to address it.
And what is your plan to try and rebuild that trust then? What's your pitch?
Well, I think that the Speaker has always had a very important role inside Parliament, making sure each MP is able to have their voice heard, each and every one, and also that there's a good relationship between Parliament and government. But I think now it's very important for the Speaker to have a role in the country as a whole, to speak up for Parliament and explain what Parliament is actually doing. That's not the job of government, that's the job of individual MPs, but above all the Speaker. But also listen to what people are saying, and between now and October the 14th, when the House of Commons gets back, I'm going to be going around the country actually listening to what people are saying about Parliament, not just on specific party political issues, but what they're saying about Parliament. And we know that people feel that Parliament should change more with the times, that it's old-fashioned, that it's out of touch. We need to address all those issues, so that's why I'm putting myself forward.
If you are going to have any chance of getting the job, you're going to need some Conservative MPs to support you. You've always been a staunchly Labour politician, some would say quite tribal. I just want to have a look, for example, at something you said back in 2007. The truth is that the Tory party is still the nasty party. I mean, if you're a Conservative MP and you read that, why would you vote for you?
Well, I think everybody who's standing for Speaker, all the candidates, will have been elected on a party political platform. So our system is that we choose from within the body of MPs to have somebody to be elected to be the Speaker. And therefore, all the candidates will have put themselves forward on a party political platform. But once they actually be elected to the chair, the task is to actually be impartial and be neutral as between different views within Parliament, but be very strong in standing up for Parliament in respect of whoever the government is, to make sure that Parliament can hold the government to account. So you simply have to become impartial. That's what all speakers have done in the past, and that's what I, and no doubt the other candidates, would do as well. We've all got our political views, but once you get into the chair, you have to be neutral. And I've been leader of the House before, which is also quite a cross-party role, and I've been one of the government's law office as well, which also requires you to act in the public interest rather than the party interest. So I feel well capable of doing that.
You say about the importance of leaving your own views to one side when you become Speaker. Some would argue that John Bercow didn't do that. There is a view among some of the Brexiters in Parliament that he is coming down on the Remain side. What's your take on John Bercow as a Speaker? I
think he's come down on Parliament's side, and it's been a very conflicted time. But of course, he doesn't have a vote, but what he does do, and what it's right that he should do, is enable Parliament to have its say, even if that's not what the government wants to hear. And I think that's why there's been criticism of him. I think there's also been criticism and controversy because he's tried to make the government more accountable to Parliament, and he's tried to modernise and reform Parliament, and I think he's been right in doing that. For example, I mean, one small example, we've got plenty of bars in the House of Commons. He backed one of those bars being turned into a nursery. Some of people found that a change that they didn't agree with, but I think he was right on that. And also, he's made ministers come to the House of Commons more often when MPs have asked for them to come in order to account for what they're doing in their department. He's actually ordered them to come to the House of Commons. But I think that although sometimes government find that irritating, it's good for government because you can be developing a policy behind closed doors and not be aware of the flaws until you get to the House of Commons, and then you have to answer for it.
I mean, you're very supportive there of John Bercow, but he also has been mired in allegations of bullying as well, that he is denied. But if you look at what Dame Laura Cox said when she did a report into bullying and harassment in Parliament, she found a culture of deference, subservience, acquiescence and silence, and said people in management roles, including Bercow, should consider their positions. Now, you are somebody who has spent your career fighting for people who come forward with these kind of allegations to be taken seriously and to be believed. Is this not a bit of a conflict for you?
Well, I think Dame Laura Cox's report was very important indeed. And in fact, the whole House of Commons agreed that we should move forward and have an independent complaints procedure so that if somebody makes a complaint against an MP, that it's not judged by MPs, but it's judged independently. That was last year. It has still not been implemented. So really, it's a very necessary reform we have to take forward, because what happens is people have allegations, but they don't make complaints and put them into the system because they don't have confidence in the system. So the way to deal with that is to make sure that you do have a good culture of respect and integrity in the House of Commons by ensuring that there is a proper complaints system, which we don't have at the moment.
How important is it for the next Speaker to be a woman?
Well, I think it is. I mean, we've had 157 speakers so far in our Parliament's history. Only one woman ever. Now, that's partly because Parliament used to be a parliament of men. Politics was what men did. Women abided by the decisions and men made them. But things have changed, and in fact, Parliament's changed. We've now got more than 200 women members of the House of Commons. And I think it would show that Parliament has changed to have a woman in the chair. We've got a man as Prime Minister, a man as Leader of the Opposition, a man as Leader of the SNP, the third largest party. If we put a man in the chair, it will render all those women invisible. And I think we do need to show women and men in the country that Parliament has changed, it has modernised. One of those big changes is that women and men are on an equal footing. Putting a woman in the chair will show that. And anyway, after 600 years, having only managed one woman, I think it's time for the next.
Now, you're the mother of the House, the longest continuous serving female MP. You were first elected in 1982. You were saying there about how the number of women has increased in Parliament, but at the same time it feels to me that there are sort of new challenges, if you like, whether it's social media abuse. We've heard these horrific stories about MPs having panic buttons and so on. Do you think things have got better or worse for women in the time that you've been in Parliament?
Well, I think in some ways they've got better because there are more women putting on the agenda issues that would never have been regarded as politically significant before, like domestic violence, like childcare, like maternity leave. But also, there's a backlash. Whenever there's progress, there's always a backlash. And there are some misogynists who believe that women should be just shutting up, not actually speaking up in public. And social media allows people anonymously to really do a tirade of abuse and threat, which is on all MPs, but particularly on women MPs.
Have you seen that yourself? Or?
Not so much myself, but we have actually lost a woman MP with Jo Cox being murdered. We nearly had the murder of another woman MP. These are very serious threats, and our democracy rests on the idea that people vote for their MPs, and then those MPs must be able to get on with their job and vote the way they believe in without responding to threats and intimidation. So I think ensuring that there is respect and trust and confidence in MPs and that MPs are properly protected is also a very important part of the job of the next Speaker.